We're coming to you live from the Alisa Hotel, Accra, Ghana, where the AAU Television is partnering with PASGR to bring you the pedagogical leadership training, and this is hosted by the University of Ghana. And as part of our interview sessions, we are privileged to be hosting Dr. Ekua, and she is the immediate past head of department, Theatre Art, School of Performing Arts of the University of Ghana. She's going to share with us her PedaL journey and how PedaL is relevant to theatre art and what they do at the School of Performing Arts. Don't forget that you can join the conversation via our social media platforms, Association of African Universities on Facebook and AAU_TV on Twitter. You can also visit our TV website, and that is tv.au.org. And my name has always been Kwesi. I'll go for a short break, and when I return, the conversation continues. Stay tuned.
Are you an institution or individual? Do you intend to organize a memorable event to be archived for future reference? Then look no further than AAU Studios, because it's your best bet. With our spacious studio and state-of-the-art media equipment such as 4K Panasonic video cameras, KinoFlow lights, assorted microphones, live streaming machines, and others, you are sure to get the best of production. Visit us at Trinity Avenue, East Legon, adjacent the National Accreditation Board, or contact the AAU studio via the following addresses: info@aau.org, AAUTV@aau.org, Ransford@aau.org. Alternatively, you can call us on 0244 185 998 or 0244 693 342.
If you just tuned in, you are still watching AAU Talks, and this is a special edition because we are coming to you from the Alisa Hotel as part of the PedaL training, and we are hosting Dr. Ekua, and she is a former head of department, school theatre art department, School of Performing Art, and she is going to tell and share her story as a participant of this wonderful training. You're welcome to AAU TV, Doc.
Thank you for
it's
welcoming me.
It's an honor to host you.
I'm very happy to be here and to share my experience so far. So this is my first time hearing about PedaL and being involved in it. And my first impression about PedaL was an exciting one because it was about Africa-centered learning. That immediately struck a chord with me because it is something that as a personal way of teaching, I've really tried to make sure that the content of my courses are Africa-centered. And also beyond my own class as a department, these are things that we are actively working towards. So it was exciting to hear that there are African universities outside the University of Ghana who are also interested in the kind of content that we are presenting to our students that are African-centered, so that in the long run the learning and training that we do in our various universities will in the end bring out students who understand our own cultural context. And will in the long run be in a position to provide solutions for our context, not always borrowing from the West, which has always been a fundamental problem. I know you can probably hear from my accent that I have been trained in the West. I was born there, but my formative years were here in Ghana. I came here when I was 3 years old, and those are my earliest memories. I grew up in Ghana, in Ho, went to primary school there, and then went back to Britain, did my secondary and the first tertiary education, and then I came back to Ghana. I've always had a calling to come back to Ghana, and I was one of the first cohorts of master's students in the theatre arts department. And so it has been an interesting journey for you to move from Britain, where I did my first degree, and then coming back to Ghana to do my master's, and interacting with courses like modern European drama. And I'm thinking, I came back to Ghana to engage with African performance practices. and this was some 20 years ago. I'm now giving too much information about my age, but
that's right.
but now we have evolved, and we needed to go through that kind of trajectory for us to arrive here now. As you've just explained, that I've just finished being the head of department. I have 20 years of coming in to do the master's course. I've handed over to another colleague who was on the same first cohort of master's students in the department when we did the MFA program. Dr. Apieje is the new head of department. So we both came through this training of being master's students. And now we are at a place where Africa is the major space from which we draw our content. We start from Africa, and then we focus in to West Africa, and then to Ghana specifically in the kinds of courses that we teach, whether it be historical history of theatre. We do the worldwide, and then we eventually zero in onto Africa, West Africa, and then Ghana.
To Ghana.
Yes. So the PedaL training has opened my eyes to a lot of things that I think we already are doing unconsciously in the department, but now we know how effective.
Technical names for it.
There are technical names for it, and we are seeing that perhaps we ought to do it even more and be more deliberate about it, and see how impactful it is for our learners and for those giving the learning as well. So I'm sure you will ask me more questions to elaborate.
You have been a head of department before,
yes,
at a place where you could make policy change in a university.
Yes.
Don't you think that we have not placed much more emphasis or importance as academics to teaching as we have done to research and probably maybe community service?
Oh yes, I mean, it was interesting. One of our guest speakers at the opening of this PedaL was Professor Kwesi who actually spoke about the importance that we now need to shift onto teaching and learning, because that is primarily what we do most of the time as lecturers. But all the focus on our promotion is on research publication and yes, but we spend majority of our time in the classrooms planning for those classrooms. So if the emphasis needs to shift, and this training has exemplified that much more clearly for me personally. And I spend a lot of time, and it's not me by myself. I know other faculty members place a lot of emphasis on the content that we provide for our students. It is important for us to make sure that we will soon be having a meeting where we are analyzing all our course outlines. I will certainly go back with the information that I have gained from here about how we set out. You know, the University of Ghana already has a template of how we set out our course outline. But within that, there are still a few things that this training has taught us about how we can use case study, how we can use simulation, role play. These are things, some of the things that I'm saying that we are doing them, but we're not doing it consciously. We don't now have we didn't have technical names for them, but now we can insert those teaching methods into our course outlines so that it is clear for our students. And that is essentially what the orientation that we are planning to do in our department on what our course outlines entail, so that we can try and identify if there are any synergies across what I might be teaching in an acting class to what the person who's teaching play analysis or some of the history courses, modern West African drama might be teaching. There might be a certain text that we can all, so that the students get the sense of how it is to use it in a practical class, from a historical perspective and from an analytical perspective. So we try to see, can we find some kind of synergy across, so that the students, because they often look at the courses independently, but we are always, so that they find that interconnection, which is very important for us. So the training has just opened my eyes to so many things that we should take on board as positive learning experiences for our students.
Okay.
And I think instinctively, a lot of us are doing it in our department. But maybe are not so much
Conscious
aware
about it.
of the impact of some of those practices. We do a lot of reflective learning because we practice a lot. And then we ask them, so what did you think of this? There's peer reviewing going on. There might be some courses where they do that and call it that. Certainly within our acting class, we don't call it peer review, but we do that. And it is essential for people to experience and to watch other people's experience, other people reenacting something that they have felt, and then we all discuss it. All of that is what we have been going through about the self-analysis, reflective teaching, be it between students or from the teachers to the learners. So all those things have just been exciting learning experiences for me, and reinforcing what some of the things that we are already doing. And now it just feels that we are being endorsed, that what we've been doing has been in the right direction.
So assuming you had, let's say, 3 years more as a head of department after this training, what would you have done differently?
I think I'm still in the department. I haven't left the department. So this information that I have gained, I'm going to share it with faculty members, because I think these are useful tools to guide us all to make our department better. And I know that the current head of department too will not be adverse to things that will help us move in the right direction. So it's all about making sure that we have a clear vision for the department, and that whoever comes on board is continuing in that that vision and mission. So whether I'm in the office or not, I'm hoping that we will all be open enough to want to continue the upward trajectory of the department. Of course, I understand that the power that comes with being in that position, I do, and I'm hoping that I will furnish faculty members and the head of department with this information. And I know that the PedaL has already has some people who are already practicing it in the University of Ghana. So I'm hoping that we will be able to, as one of my pedagogical goals for this year, is to hopefully bring about some kind of training in the department or the School of Performing Arts, because I really think a lot of the practice that we do in the school can be enhanced by this training. In particular, I have found it really, really useful, and I have made very interesting networking, what is the word? I have met other faculty members from other universities who I know I will love to be able to collaborate with simply by being in this training. And I know that they will have specialist skills that they can bring on board. As we were sitting, for instance, technology is not my friend. I do not like PowerPoint. That is the training that we are currently doing right now, and I thought, saved by the bell. But I know that the colleague sitting next to me is in IT, and so he's the one going, no, press this, no, do this, let's refresh the page, you know, and we have built a bond between the two of us now from, you know, these few days of training together, you know, and I know that and he's not in Ghana, he's in Nigeria, but so those connections are there, and I'm sure that when we finish here, we won't just dissolve those kinds of relationships that we're building.
Great. We are sitting with Dr. Ekumah, and she is from the University of Ghana, immediate past head of department. She's recounting her story and her experience as well, and most important, her learning outcome. We'll go for a short break, we'll be back. welcome back from the break. You are still watching AU Television, and this is a special edition coming to you from the Alisa Hotel, and it is the pedagogical leadership training happening here, and that is the Western Hub. We are sitting with Dr. Ekua Ekumah, and she is telling us how PedaL has been so much beneficial to her, but we still want to find out more from her. So, Doc, before we just finish the entire discussion, the semester is beginning, or the next academic year is beginning some few weeks to come.
Yes.
What should your students expect from you? How excited would they be after you going through this 8-day training?
I am a very spontaneous lecturer. And very hands-on. I think the PedaL training has endorsed that.
The very things that you do.
So the students might actually maybe they should run for cover. Because now I feel there are other universities in Africa who are training academics to be more hands-on. I think one of the things that has been very useful for me is when we talked about gendering the curriculum. And I know that straight away when you talk about gender, people think it's male, female. But my eyes have been opened to the different levels of gendering. So it's to have a greater awareness about the challenges that our students might be facing. And I think instinctively I was already doing that, but now I'm going to be more deliberate about that. I think it is very important to know our students and know the kinds of challenges that students faced. And then I think in my position as the head of department, I got to know students at a very different level. Because a lot of issues ended up at the head of department's office. Things to do with not being able to register, things to do with financial issues, personal,
psychosocial problems.
Yes, so many issues. And I haven't closed my door simply because I'm no longer head of department. I still will want to be a place where students can feel that they can be open to yes. And then my task would be to advise them on the various spaces within which they can get the necessary assistance. Being in that position taught me about the structure of the university, how it runs administratively. And it can be a bit complicated at times for students who are coming in, particularly at level 100 and level 200. And I've realized that students tend to talk to other students instead of speaking to those who can actually provide the support and the solutions that they need. I find that they come when it is too late to do anything. If I had known at the beginning of the semester, I could have done A, B, C, D to help you. But now you come when it's 1 week to exam and you say you've only just paid your fees and, So with this hindsight, I think I still want to be in a position where I can advise, and this is where I think orientation for level 100, actually orientation across board when we begin the new semester, I would like to be much more involved in the orientation so that I can bring that administrative knowledge of understanding how the university has worked for 2 years, being in that position. I would like to inform students of this and to personally tell them about the various institutions. People used to talk about, the University of Ghana, we don't have this, we don't have access to. All of those things are fallacies, I believe now, because there is a lot of resources in the University of Ghana. It's just how to access them. Some of them are there and they're quietly there. And we need to do more to give them those channels to access those resources. So we all have a responsibility as faculty members to guide them to these resources. Whether they will use them or not is another, I guess, another discussion. But if we begin to implement some of those or incorporate some of those into our course, outlines, for instance, is a good place where we can begin to use those things. Getting to know your students, also, you get an idea of what kinds of technologies are they using? What are they engaging with? If you find that standing in front of your class and just lecturing them, you're not engaging with them, then maybe we as lecturers have to find other ways of teaching them. And that is another thing that the PedaL training has taught me. We also need to think about diversity, not only within our learners, but within the faculty. And we have a diverse range of faculty members who, some are professors who have been in the system, some of them have been there from when the departments or the schools started. And they have a wealth of knowledge and experience to bring to bear on teaching and learning in the department or the school. And then we have new young assistant lecturers who have just joined and also have something to offer. And so when I was head of department, I was really trying to understand this kind of how we can maximize this.
And bridge the gap.
Bridge the gap, yes. I personally co-teach one of the theoretical courses with Mr. Ben Asante, who is a retired lecturer. So he's on part-time. But he is a trained teacher, comes from the old school, and those fundamental training is there, and you see it clearly in how he teaches. I have learned a phenomenal amount of techniques and skills from him. I did not go through that kind of training, but I also have a different kind of training, and I think that the students have benefited. I don't know, the students might say something different, but I think that was an experiment I was trying out. But this PedaL training has taught me that it is possible to have many different tools in teaching a 13-week course that don't all have to be just standing and lecturing all the way. So what are my students to expect? They're to expect a cocktail of tools.
Absolutely.
And the end result, hopefully, is learning outcomes that will give them will be for them to have learned something within the semester, have been able to use critical skills, because that for me is always a major challenge with our students. Because of the natural educational system here in Ghana, it is about learning for exams at the basic level. When they get to secondary, it's learning for exam. You get to the university, then suddenly we're saying, what do you think? What do you mean, what do I think? When is the exam? Tell me, and then I will cram and give you back your notes. But we get to the university and we want them to think. We want them to apply. We want them to be at that higher level of knowledge, not the basic of just give me the information and I give it back to you. So that is and these were things that those who've gone through teacher training know and are trying to implement it. But then you also have within the university system those who have not gone through that training. And we are all colleagues now. So how do we support each other with this kind of environment where you have a mix of training? It should not be at a disadvantage to our students. So our students need to be in a position where they are getting the best of what the whole faculty can offer. So for me, that cocktail of teaching tools, I think, is what my students will hopefully see from me, and it is thanks to having gone through this training, this PedaL training, and I'm excited to hear that it's going on in other parts of Africa. Not, and that is where the focus should be, because we are here in Africa. Of course, we can bring in other examples, but it has to be relevant to our situation, our context here.
Thank you so much for speaking to us, Dr.
Thank you
Ekua.
too.
It has been wonderful hosting you. And viewers, this is the end of our interview session. We have been hosting Dr. Ekumah, and she is the media past head of department, Department of Theatre Art and School of Performing Art. Don't forget to join our conversations as well. You can visit our TV website, AAU tv.aau.org. My name is Kwesi Sam. Thanks for watching.